don't know much about Little Crum Creek, it is a headwater stream, which means that it starts very close to here. It's pretty small. It's about 3.5 miles long, and it kind of runs parallel to the larger Crum Creek, which reaches very, very high in our Crum watershed, which is where we live in. And a watershed is the section where all the rainwater falls and drains into. So we're in the Crum watershed. So Crum Creek, super long. Little Crum Creek, very small, only about 3.5 miles. They join together right before it goes into the Delaware River. And the Delaware River basin is super big. You know the Delaware River, it's near Philadelphia, and that is the drinking water of millions and millions of people. So it's really important that we protect headwater streams like Little Crum Creek so we can ensure that the water that we're letting leave Swarthmore is healthy and can improve the Delaware River as it journeys on. So conductivity is the measurement of how many ions are in the water. So a lot of the issues at Little Crum Creek is from road salt, and road salt, NaCl, it dissolves into chloride, and chloride is what causes a lot of problems. It's toxic to a lot of fish and plants in high concentrations. The conductivity was at 650 on April 18th, so just a couple days ago, and then a month before that, the conductivity was 645. So today it has a very low conductivity. It's at 385, almost 200 or 300 left. In the winter, there's a lot more salt because you salt the roads in the winter. So it's kind of a very basic but very important parameter that I measure for. So pH is how acidic or how basic the water is. And it's really important because it can tell you how well the nutrients in the water is able to be absorbed by the organisms that live in it, and how toxic the pollutants are for those organisms. So I have a very simple color match. Carrot. So there's a lot of organisms that live in this creek. You might have seen the little minnows, the fish. So what I've seen so far is white suckers, which are pretty big. They can go, I saw the biggest one down by that tributary there. It was kind of like this big. And they have these suckers on the bottom, a lot of little minnows. There's some called black nose dace. They have a stripe running down the side. There's a lot of fish and macroinvertebrates, which are like bugs and anything with an exoskeleton that live in the creek. I have a water penny, which you can kind of see looks like a little penny. It's very round, and a black fly larva. They're somewhat tolerant to pollution. And then these two, this is a dragonfly larva. It's monstrous. This one is a mayfly. So these two are indicator species. So if you find these in the creek, that means that the creek is pretty healthy.
You could find a dragonfly larva in the creek?
Yes, you can. They actually stay in their larval stage for 1 to 2 years, and then they emerge, and then they live for 5 months. It depends on the species. Doing macroinvertebrate samples can tell you a lot about how healthy the stream is for years at a time because of their lifespans. So for all the chemical sampling I'm doing, it's more of a snapshot of how the stream looks like at that very moment I'm doing the sampling. And another really important species in our freshwater streams are mussels. These are freshwater mussels, and they're a keystone species. It's very important because everything in that ecosystem is dependent on their presence. And mussels are really important because they do this filter feeding. So they filter the water from heavy metals, a lot of contaminants, a lot of bacteria. And because the water quality has been getting worse and worse, they accumulate a lot of these toxins, and that's what kills them. A lot of things can elevate the temperature, such as storm water. So water can, from rain, it can heat up when it's on pavement because it's dark colored and it doesn't soak into the ground. So you have a lot of this hot water coming in, and it goes through storm drains. It channels through a lot of sewers and things like that, and it comes into our creeks with very high velocity at very high temperatures, and that can affect a lot of the organisms, like these little critters, like these mussels that live in the streams. And so a lot of the open space in Swarthmore and everywhere is really important because it takes a lot of this rainwater away from the hot pavements and a lot of these impervious surfaces, which is where the water can't directly get soaked and absorbed into the ground. And so a park like Little Crum Creek Park is really, really important in kind of diverting a lot of the problems that might go into the creek. All right, and then we're going to continue titration until it's clear.
Now it's clear.
Now it's clear. So perfect. Actually perfectly at 9. So that means there's 9 parts per million of dissolved oxygen. And if you want to compare that to what I found 2 days ago, I found 9.8. So pretty close.
That's 9 parts per million?
Yes. And then last month I found 8.8. So if you have very cold waters, you'll have more oxygen that's able to dissolve. So it was colder yesterday than a month ago, which explains why the dissolved oxygen is higher 2 days ago.